Well, hello, creatives, community, and kind folks. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. I am your host, DBJ, and today is Third Pillar Thursday. Third pillar representing the third pillar of exploration in tabletop role playing games, and continuing our discussion of delving into the bodies of dead and forgotten gods. We're going to talk about one of my favorite subjects, and that is exploration. And exploration in tabletop role playing games is an extremely wide and varied and um, often personally described part of tabletop role playing games that can often be forgotten or set aside or seem like a one off. And so I'm here to help out with those thoughts. So here are some of my examples of delving into the bodily functions of the human body and using that as a template for exploring inside of the body of these dead gods, which is a big trope in tabletop role-playing games, which I sometimes wonder why maybe we don't see it even more often in role-playing games, at least as described. But whatever. It's a thing. Let me. I'm going to pull up a list here of our body parts. Hey, Drew, and everyone else that's here. If you take place in the show live, let's go. Let's go with this one. Um, if you take place in the show live, of course, you're the co-host here, you're able to bring your intelligence, your brilliance, your creativity into the show. Uh, oh, you no needs, no needs at all to apologize for not being here. Your time is valuable. You have lives. This is just a distraction from those things. So yeah. Mm-mm-mm. Oh wow! Oh, bring up the incarnations of immortality yesterday. ATA, yeah, wow. Yeah, a great book series if you don't mind Piers Anthony's tendency to use a lot of tongue-in-cheek nomenclature, names and places and people and situations and things like that. But great author nonetheless. Very prolific during a very short period of time. So, um, mind you, you do not need to use this if you feel like, hey, um, I'd like to have an adventure inside of one of these dead godlings or something like that. But I thought it would be a good basis for us to describe some of the hazards and dangers. Now, the one here, we've got 12 body systems up here, but I think one or more are missing that would absolutely positively be great examples to use in a game are psychological and emotional hazards the players may come across while they're inside of the human body. So, of course, we begin here with the integumentary system. That's the skin, that's hair, nails, and it may be necessary for the players to enter into the body through various orifices. And if they need to cut through skin or something like that, they may need you know, bludgeoning, piercing, slashing damage may not be the only thing that, or may not be powerful enough to get through the systems. And we know that skin is a complicated system of being able to keep out unwanted materials while also allowing the body to excrete sweat and heat and things of that nature. So that might be a way to for the players to sneak into the human body without having to go through some of the more scatological orifices, or maybe even places like tear ducts, the eyes, nose, mouth, ears, and things of that nature. And then into the when we get let's well, okay, we'll go in order. The skeletal system itself, again, very defensive, but also we know that our human skeletal system produces red blood cells. It has bone marrow. It's very, very defensive, and affecting that system could bring horrors. Now we know in fantasy gaming, especially in Dungeons and Dragons, we have lots of uh, there are diseases that are possible that the player characters may come across by becoming uh, infected by something inside of the body. Now you could contextualize what virus or bacteria is by making it an ooze or something ghostly or immaterial. You could use some of those often unused diseases and poisons that are listed in some of our fantasy role playing games and have those things. Possible floating in the air or dripping from ceilings or uh, in a fluidic zero G kind of environment, glomming onto your player characters and such. Yeah, like Drew says, the adventurers are the virus. The adventurers are the viruses. Exactly, exactly. So white blood cells aren't alien to our body. It's the adventurers that might be inside of the world of DBJ and trying to fight against them. But we could use stats. We can just recontextualize and use stats as like oozes and things of that nature. Uses, but does the dead deity consent to being penetrated by the adventurers? In the classic movie Fantastic Voyage, a more serious look at delving into a human body, as opposed to the comedy movie, half like 75% animated movie, Osmosis Jones. In Fantastic Voyage, they had an hour to basically stop like a brain aneurysm or something of that nature, and it was like it was all practical effects. It was a submarine that was shrunk down with a crew, basically a medical crew, or each person had their specialty, and then they had to go through the human body. It's actually a really good movie, despite it was like 1966. So it's all practical effects, and you could see people, wires were rubbed out, and you could see them dangling and things like that. Oh, it's kind of crazy. But once inside, hey guys, hey Vince, what's going on? um, the skeletal system may also be a place where the players may be able to find refuge, and the red blood cells could be living, breathing individuals or something, taking around the oxygen that's necessary, and you don't want to stop that. Exactly. Oh wow. Now the muscular system itself, because our muscles expand and contract, and of course we have the heart itself being a big giant muscle and whatnot. These could be, again, fibrous tendons that player characters could get trapped inside of and tangled inside of. There could be, you could add a timing effect or a reactive effect, and an if then system where if the players uh, cause maybe an electrical ability, that it causes the muscular system to spasm and contract or something, trapping anyone that's inside of that region. It may also require the players to scale the muscles, trying to climb up them, hiding within the muscle fibers. The players may be able to use that for stealth purposes, or there may be enemies inside the body that are of this dead deity, and so snapping those very fibers itself as well could be used by NPCs or the players themselves by on purpose or by accident. Hey, you miss, I don't know, using a burning hand spell or ray of cold or something like that. What happens to them? What reactive system in the body happens? So shoot an arrow or crossbow bolt and it misses. It may absolutely pierce thin membranes, especially if we as we move on into like the circulatory system. Mm, mm, mm. Strange world. Just keeping up, keeping up with you guys. Now, in the nervous system might be firing on all cylinders. It may be like sending very powerful electrical impulses back and forth, which might be dangerous if you come in contact with it, like open and exposed wiring. Um, It may also be that electrical arcs as well. The nervous system might be sending psychic imagery. So if you get close to it, you could be overcome by pain that's happening inside of the body of this titanic kaiju size and even larger being, size of a continent or a planet or something. Um, the electrical system may glom onto individuals, paralyzing them, restraining them. Also, the any players that have like psychic or electrical abilities might be able to influence these very systems as well. Cutting off particular signals from the nervous system may help the players navigate through, maybe around some of the other systems like the muscular system and things of that nature. Yeah, I have not seen Strange World. I have not seen it, but I do want to see it. Is it a Pixar movie, Pixar or Disney movie? Can't remember. Cannot remember. But yeah, circulatory system. This is a this is a pretty cool as well. I mean, nervous system, in on the battlefield. I hate to call it just the battlefield, but in the fantasy setting, there is a possibility of dangers and things. But in a circulatory system, of course, what I love is the idea of flow. And flow in role playing games is like something that happens external with the player characters that is external to their behavior that causes them to have to react to it and affects their movement and such. Raging rivers, high winds, and things of that nature that move the player, avalanches, sandstorms, those kind of things are really cool to add into your game. And the circulatory system absolutely it works this way. And with blood flow through veins and arteries, depending on how powerful it is, and as you get closer to the heart, and as we know in our human bodies we have a pulse, maybe this is constantly pushing the players towards a different direction that they may not want to go. They may have to try to go against let's see. They may have to go against the flow or go with it. So it may be very easy in effectively adding to their movement if they go with the flow in the circulatory system, and work against it if they have to climb forward. If that makes sense. They now, depending on your world, are they swimming somehow, or like scuba diving in the blood flow of a dead god, or is this a zero gravity, or heck, maybe even if this godling is a earthbound continent or something, is this like a river system? And you can decide how that works. Also, especially when you talk about the heart itself, we have valves in our body that open and close, causing that, keeping that internal pressure. The psi's are pretty high inside the human body, and not getting slammed and crushed inside of these valves, or the valves themselves may open and close, giving enemies and NPCs access to seeing each other and then closing and being separated and then being opened up and being visible inside of one bodily system inside of the other, which is also pretty interesting when it comes to tactics and things like that. Uh, I remember a role playing game of Robo Rally. I don't. Oh, where you could, I believe in it, you could move players depending on you. It was like randomized movement, and you could push people off the boards. Oh, it's been a long time. It's been a long time. Yeah, the Geek says we know people shrivel up when they die, giving the illusion that their hair and nails are growing. What if massive caverns, such as veins, have been shrinking over 2,000 years? Oh, heck yeah! And we know that that happens in the human body as well. Tight spaces, highly unused, oft unused, but in fifth edition Dungeons and Dragons and every other role playing game out there, used to tight spaces. Maybe player characters need to go swim a single file through different types of veins and arteries, and as they start to narrow and expand and things of that nature. You could also get trapped inside of ones as well, or dislodge. Hey Z, dislodge. Uh, um, cholesterol or buildup in the veins as well, may be a thing. Enemies may have set up, were an invasive species and doing things to the body, inside of the body of this thing, and causing these external exploratory events. Also, as the players are exploring this body, they may figure out how it works to allow it to begin to um, work in their favor. For example, the players may need to get washed into the heart, avoid getting slammed inside of the valves to get pushed to another area of the body quickly, instead of maybe traveling across the skin or climbing through the muscular fibers or things like that. Yep. Yeah. Like Vince says, hey, like Vince mentions, like, "Hey, wait, guys! I have to inject some liquid into these walls, or we can get through." Right? Yeah, they will widen up again. Exactly, exactly. And who we know when someone, you ever get a cramp and or a body injury, and you have to like treat it with hot or cold compresses or something of that nature, or adrenaline, and we'll get to that, adrenaline or something like that. Yeah, I love it. TA mentioned something else. What if you have something shrinking and tightening up in the god as they shrivel? Okay, and um, that is so strong a material that the sacrifices made of carbon living organisms get crushed into. I'm thinking diamond or something like that. What is we have materials today that are carbon, um, like woven carbon, graphite, and things of that nature. TS is pure diamond, so you end up with a giant diamond about the size of, say, a calf, or basically about 10 by 10 by 10 foot diamond. Yeah, yeah. Why not? Why? Why not? Oh man, all the cheap tenement housing has been built in the gut, with the people in power knowing that space is going to constrict massively over time. Yeah, why not? Of course, this is ours. We can do anything we want with our creativity, and why not? Um, the digestive system. Moving on here, the digestive system. Of course, you got to have acids and oozes, maybe some poisons, things held in the digestive system, half digested, some things that never digested in the first place, pulled into the human body. Um, Anything like that could be possible. Players having to navigate. Maybe there's something very important. They need to swim down into a lake of acidic fluids. I'm looking at you, all your um, gray oozes, green slime, black puddings, yellow molds, things of that nature. Also, uh, I would throw in some rust monsters maybe, and some other things in there, and just recontextualize them as well, to break things down to their component parts. Um, uh, I wouldn't. I mean, a bleeding ulcer might be a thing that's happening in the god from the stresses of having to worry about the few 100,000 remaining worshippers that the god has, and the PCs may have to seal the bleeding ulcer to stop the acids from spilling over. Also, having a battle, standing on top of undigested giant chunks of food and whatnot, and other things spilling from the ceiling, and the players having battle on top of it so they don't fall into the acids, like fighting on um, a lake of lava, or I don't know, ice flows or something like that. Yeah. Oh yeah. The big question: what was he eating? Yeah, or maybe there's a guild or something that's been outside of this body of this dead god, and bringing it in to just keep it alive just long enough for them to harvest what they want. Ooh, yeah, absolutely. Zamar says no part of the human body has one entrance, so having tight spaces can work like a trap meant to dramatic music. Dun, 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 split the party. Exactly. Yeah, we have a lot of holes in us, more holes than we think we do. um, depending on how you define a hole. It, that came up from a, a science video that I once saw talking about how many holes the human body has, and there's a lot of them. Uh, Wayne says if the blood of the god is pure gold, is not getting resurrected. We're getting rich. Hell's yeah, yeah. If we're mining bits and pieces of it, or the enemies are, or something like that. Yeah, and Vince goes on to say they could also split into different blood vessels while swimming in the blood, like a spreading river. Yep, going down a different tributary, left or right, and they're like, I don't know, pick one, halfling. You're the lucky one. Go right. uh, Ta says something else to consider is that the patterns left over from life of the gods still dissipating could have patterned into the diamond, so is trapped would speak to you with wisdom and knowledge too. Oh, you mean like its thoughts and dominion could still exist even as it's dead or dying, and that could be etched into the diamond itself. Ooh, that's kind of cool. Vince says, "Don't forget the intestines, which crushes everything inside." Yeah, yeah. Do we go down the long intestine? I don't know. That might take 3 sessions of travel. Yeah. Yeah, the Ant King said, how big would a dead giant's molecules be? I don't know. Hmm. Now uh, uh, it depends on how scientifically it's how much scientific reality we want. Um, yeah, the blood could be a form of iron that makes nearly unbreakable swords. Hmm. Hmm. Have to get that iron out of the blood, out of the uh, blood hemoglobin and whatnot. But that'd be awesome too. Yeah. Got a toothpick, got a continent between the teeth. Yeah, depending on how big you want to go. Now, the excretory system is like our, sweat, heat, that kind of thing. And the system absolutely positively could be trying to kick the PCs out. So, what could be cool is instead of the player characters just being attacked or um, roll initiative, here's combat, kill or be killed, they could be trying to grab the player characters and just toss them out of the body. Um, through the nearest orifice possible, right? And trying to shove them in these tight spaces and kick them out like in life pods or something, or like into these like squishy tunnels or whatnot. Which, if you wanted to make this less lethal and more, a little bit more gonzo, this would be a great idea as well. Like every time the PCs do something wrong, they're like, "Oh no, here they come again," and the system keeps trying to like uh, pack their bodies into these little put them in little Ziploc bags and then kick them out of the human body, or spray them out or something like that, or kick it into the digestive system, or again, flushing them down the urinary tract, which would be pretty foul. Exploration wise, we often think about the physical, the things which we see. We can climb, swim, jump, or whatever. But hey, even in the urinary tract, you've got all the body waste, and the smells could be horrible. The sounds could be very loud. Oh, I missed the respiratory system too. How did I do that? Oh, because anyway, yeah, the respiratory system. Again, I love the idea of anything that moves, that causes player characters to have to react to it. And with the respiratory system, you could have everything from like hurricane, tornado like winds, sandstormy kind of things where the air is constantly flowing in and flowing back out, and flowing in and flowing back out. And they could get trapped in, if they can't find something to hold on to, they could get sucked down into the lungs and trapped inside of little fibers. The player characters may be able to find some kind of boon by maybe getting a little globule of air down in the lungs and taking that with them, just in case they have to breathe or find some kind of it could be a very natural uh, globule like helmet or something they put on their heads. The PCs might be in the midst of a battle, and it's constantly like a random amount of distance that they keep getting pulled down into the lungs and then pushed back out, and then pulled down and pushed back out. And it would be kind of complicated when they're trying to do battle with like some kind of a goblinoids that have infested it, and they keep like flowing past each other. Um, Things of that nature. Yeah, Zamar says, I don't know if you guys already went over the immune system kicking in. Not yet. Not yet. Uh, Certain fantasy races could be certain things, like goblins or the viruses of the giant bursting from the dwarves. It's like it's as its blood. Absolutely, absolutely, yeah. The elves all live near and around the brain because they think they're all that, or heck, they could even live on the skin, trying to keep it looking nice and neat. Um, they're uh, Gnomes could be the creative spark. The dwarves are the uh, what would you call it? Like the adrenal system or something. Yeah. Vince says in Astrocetus, I have a giant race. They are as big as starships, and they come from a giant dimension. So every material from their dimension had larger molecules and atoms. There you go. That was in a Marvel superheroes book. You could grow large, and you described how you grow. Do you just get more molecules, or are your molecules getting bigger? And if they got bigger, you couldn't breathe normal air. If you had shrinking and growing and stuff. TA says the blood iron could be something similar to the ancient deposits of iron the pre-Germans were mining that came with natural carbon infused so as to making a better iron than other tribes had. Sweet. And who knows what you might create from carving carving anything off of a dead god and using it is probably just simply by the fact that it's in your hand is probably going to have some sort of effect, long lasting effect, if not now, then sometime in the future, right? Mm-mm-mm. Vince says filtering various liquids of this giant would be any alchemist or chemist dream. Yeah. Oh, hell's yeah. Maybe a natural apothecary or something like that. Didn't they do something like that in the Guardians of the Galaxy? I think it was called Nowhere. That is exactly what they did. Nowhere was a haven that was the skull of a dead celestial, and yeah, they mined its brain fluids or something. Mm-mm-mm. Zamar says captured air from the lungs or processed food from the gut could be keys needed to get into certain areas or to placate certain enemies as well. Absolutely. And it could also be, our digestive system breaks things down because they're needed for other places. Maybe the players can parlay, hey, we have molecular bonds or whatever in our backpacks needed to heal the ruptured veins and arteries, and please don't attack us. And the red blood cell guild is like, oh, thank goodness you brought that here, help us patch this up. Right? Sounds funny, but why not? Why not? Yeah, let's do that. Ha! The King says, and the orcs are descended from this god, stubbing his toe in the morning. Oh, get, and all the orcs is just spontaneously kind of like, we're mad. Yeah, oh man, hilarious, very hilarious. All right, so we have the reproductive system. Without going down too much of a dirty path here, the reproductive system could also be, if we recontextualize it, it could be producing many, many more of the enemies. The classic, the classic. There's a portal, dis, disgorging lots of enemies that the player characters may need to fight. Although that might technically be the endocrine system. The reproductive system may be the other than the brain, may be the reason why the players are there, or even the god lays eggs. Yeah. Well, half the human population has half the chromies. Half the human population has the other half the chromies. So, the I can imagine enemies or the player characters may need to go into the godling um, to bring back uh, something inside of it to allow it to propagate. This may be a natural system when the pantheon of the gods switches over, and the player characters are like, are we really going to go into the reproductive system and get an egg so that it could be hatched into another godling or something? Sure, why not? Uh, are there enemies that might be trying to raise a god in their own image? I can imagine you got to have some cultists trying to do something like that, right? uh, uh, Zamar says, oh God, I just remembered a scene from Cells at Work. The body could try to ask the players to help it in healing the body. Yep, explaining that they need as many hands as possible. Oh, of course. Mm-mm-mm. TA says, yeah, imagine finding out it's a female and you find the ovaries that are still viable, attempting to absorb living entities to activate them. Yep, the other half, the chromies, to grow into a godling, and there are millions of them or even billions of them. How, what a plot of ascension that the cultists all want to be absorbed into the eggs to then themselves become uh, gods in their own images, right? Yeah, Druden says maybe the reproductive system of the deity could allow a trans person to get their gender affirming transformation. Yep, any a wish fulfillment system. Why the hell not? Um, and it could work either way. Um, Once the eggs are touched, it begins to germinate because of the individual that touched it, or the person can then be transformed and vice versa, right? Thomas says basically billions of gelatinous cube-like critters that if they consume anything alive, oops, it becomes a god with properties of the other entity. Heck yeah, yeah. Now, if that ain't something that you need to worry, if that ain't something that you need to worry about, here with what Vince says, how valuable would an egg be? A single one, it would be worth a kingdom, if you could uh, reasonably offer that to someone. And although that could be a world ending event as well, or your player characters become the new pantheon. Ooh, ta says like a dog being absorbed causes an entity like Anubis to grow from it. Ooh, or a god like being is born. Thank you. Says this is off topic, but I love gelatinous cubes. Why do they have to be? They don't need to be cubes, by the way. They could just be gelatinous, uh, any geometric shape you want, including orbs. But they, it could also. What if the godlings were not created from your conscience, but from your subconscious, your memories, your behaviors, the things you've done? Not just who you are, but what you are in all ways. And a god doesn't need gods don't need to be genderfied. They can be any and all and numerous genders we've never heard of, right? So they don't even need to be genderfied. Although in fantasy, um, classic monsters tend to be genderfied. Uh, but yeah, you don't even need to do that. And I think it would be I, I don't godlings can surpass mortality, so I don't think one needs to be one or the other. Especially if the god is not human, they are dragon or lizard like. Then they don't have a gender. They are what they are, like frogs. Many frogs are like both genders or not neither gender. They are their own gender. Vince says maybe you need to find a differently gendered god to use any of the eggs or sperms you find. Now that's another thing as well. Like we have lots of gods that are destined to be together or never to be together, constantly being held apart or something. Yeah. Yeah. Vince says, well, look at Zeus. He could transform into anything and anything and everything to produce offspring, and often did so. And often did. He was just like, I can't help it. I need to. I very very much controlled by his own reproductive system. Zamara says, as there are people melding together and into the skin of the god, healing the cut, those leading the party turn to face the party and start to reach out in a panicked hurry. Roll for initiative. Yeah. Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm. You come on. TA's like, we're gonna make we're gonna make scrambled eggs. Oh, what was it? What was it? Demigod? Who knows? We don't. These classifications really don't mean anything except something that we attach to it. Um, I can't remember. Okay, so last two systems: the endocrine and immune system. The endocrine system, our adrenal system. Again, that could be used to reinforce all of the other systems to get them more powerful. Maybe the player characters need to calm it down or somehow stop it to because they know that within roll a d6 in 4 rounds or whatever, you know, the endocrine system is going to send even more soldiers after the PCs or cause the 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 body to react even more violently or whatever. And maybe that's a way to get it to pacify, to get it to calm down, especially if you maybe their player characters are able to gain some fluids from the endocrine system to calm down the heart or lungs or digestive system from overreacting as well. That would be awesome. Oh, you guys are going too fast for me. And in the immune system, definitely immune system, white blood cells, driving the player characters out, trying to destroy them. It could be mindless, like or all the oozes that we have at our disposal. It it could be they could be a guild, white cloaked guild that are trying to drive the players out, like cavaliers and paladins and knights and heralds inside of the or in or on the dead god's body or something, trying to drive them out as well. And they're like, "We're not having it. I don't want to hear what you have to say. Get out of here." You know, unless the player characters again discover or acquire other things within the body that they could use to, like, for examples, if the players can claim that they are trying to, or the white blood cell guild finds the PCs fighting against an invasive species or element or something, like fighting against a virus, and they're like, "Oh, we'll help you out. Well, thank you for helping heal the body. Thank you for helping heal the brain aneurysm or cancers or other invasive things as well." And the invasive species don't need to be humanoid, but they could be other monsters like hags and nagas and rakshasa coming into it. Fiends love to manipulate other um, other entities, and what a great way to gain some power. Wizards cabal or something. The Ant King said had a DM that had a rule in his game that if you ate a god's heart, you could become a demigod. Yeah. Heck, players could give birth to their own selves as gods or something. Vince says you got to harvest enough god adrenaline to bring the god back to life. Yes, that may be a thing as well. Putting the again, like you mentioned before, I think it was Zamara. They're talking about keys, accesses to restart the body. Okay, we got to go to the endocrine system to get the adrenal gland to use that material to take it back to the heart to get it to restart. And oh, we also need to go to the brain to someone needs to go there to give it some electrical stimulation or something and keep that going. Oh, the lungs, someone has to keep the lungs going, right? It could be like juggling a lot of different things to get things started, and that'd be kind of cool. And then King says, and if you ate a bunch, you would get even stronger. Ouch. Mm-mm-mm. Vince says, I think the game designer, John Wick, and yes, there is a real person, John Wick, who is a real game designer. I think he's got a YouTube channel and stuff. Did a rework of the orcs where they ate all the gods and gained some of their minor godlike abilities. Hmm. Uh, through it, but literally have no gods anymore. Oh, from consuming them all? Yeah. Yeah, the Yankees said, "Sorry, we're autobahning you, but it's a cool topic." Yeah, I try to keep up. I mean, it's fine. I try to be as as responsive to everyone as possible. Let's put it that way. Um, like you all. So don't take anything personal if you think I'm ignoring you. That is not the case. Especially because we very rarely have people from Twitch, and that comes along here as well. So kind of weird. Adrenal gland being something you could harvest to make a god tier level potion of heroism. Unless it makes your chest explode. I'm going to drink a super potion. Okay, it's an automatic, I don't know, potion of storm giant strength, but if you roll a 1 on a D8 or something, your heart explodes. Yeah. Mm-mm-mm. Vince says he's not the nicest person, but he has some interesting ideas. Execution is not nearly as good, sadly. Oh, yeah, I'm not as familiar with him. The antibody of a dead god as your guardian familiar. Ooh, what? Ooh, yeah. Hey, who knows? I mean, if we, hey, Death Angel. I mean, if you want to even go deeper, we have all kinds of things like inside of our cells. There's like mitochondria and things of that nature. Maybe a player character. Hey, the druid gets a familiar. It's an amoeba. you know. I don't know. We also have lots of little critters living on our body as well, like the um we have a symbiotic relationship with small things, not like bed bugs, but they're but kind of like that. Maybe the PCs acquire like, I don't know, a rust monster familiar or something like that because it hangs around on the skin and ends up helping the PCs get inside. Mm-mm-mm. Drink the sticky yellow, putrid smelling liquid to quench your thirst and heal your wounds. Avoid the slick black liquid that makes you sick violently from all five ends. Yeah. Yeah. It makes you evacuate out of all of your orifices. Oh, man. Mm-mm-mm. Trying to keep up. There we go. Now, Death Angel says, don't gods need worshippers to maintain their existence? Now, the player characters might be sent as agents for the declining worshippers, or it could be the opposite. We don't want there to be more worshippers. We want this dead god not to rise again, especially if the worshippers have their own evil, world-shattering agenda or something. The End King says, "What if we're not dealing with a dead god? What if we're dealing with a god graveyard? There's more than one. Why not? There was imagery. Thanks, your Death Angel. There was imagery in. Um, let's see if we can find this. It was Teen Titans, Titans, and it was with the X Men and oh, Teen Titans with the X-Men graphic novel, and it was an image of the Source. And in the comic book, The Source, it was basically at the end of the universe. And it was where the anti-life equation with Dark Side was located. And it was just a giant wall of like faces. And see if they show an image. Let's see if I can find one of these. Oh, maybe? Yeah. Here we go. Oh, I can't share it. Or I can I'm gonna do it. But yeah, it made that. And thank you there, Death Angel. I really appreciate that. Mm-mm-mm. Vince says a giant God's graveyard. This could be a campaign. And what a great way even to like. I hate to say this, but the God's graveyard could be tier locked, so you need to go to one to get to another, or this could be a arc archipelago of sorts, traveling from one to the other, each with its own domain, or even those that have an undefined domain left, especially if this is a end of world shattering where the very nature of of reality is starting to break apart because the gods are dying off one by one, or they could be left on a battlefield, having done battle with each other. They're falling one by one until there's only a few left, if any, and there's this giant physical um 1.0 gravity battlefield of dead gods, you know, spears and swords stabbed through them and their body parts hanging around or something, or they could just be floating out in the netherworlds as well. Now that sounds horrible there. Wade is like, yes, every night while you sleep, spiders come out and have sex on your face. True fact. Ouch. Don't put that in somebody's head. Regular days off are gone on PTO today. Yeah. We're in a society of non-workers and overworkers here in the States. Yeah. It's horrible, horrible, horrible. Mm-mm-mm. Uh, a reason. Oh, I'm trying to find this comment here. Oh, okay. A mountain of skulls all bunched together. A 4 month long path of ribs and spines. Hell yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You look at a from a distance, the PC see a rib cage, and all you see are like flock of birds, like flying through the tops of the rib cage, and you're like, that's mountainous. Um, Cables and wires strung but between them like cable cars and whatnot. Yeah. Vince says a reason for gods to actually interact with mortals. I think that would be absolutely uh, awesome. As a matter of fact, I brought up the other day about what if in the on the horizon, the players are living in a world where they see the gods doing battle with each other on the horizon. That could be a perfectly good reason why you have uh, environmental effects happening every time they slam a god falls to their knee after getting slammed with a mace to the jaw, slams down on the ground, and that what does that cause? Earthquakes and sandstorms, and someone is pierced in the side with a spear or a dagger, and blood spills out. And now all of a sudden the world gets flooded, and um, what one of the gods exclaims out very loudly, and all of a sudden it's a deafening roar. The skies are pierced when one of the gods starts, running across their what they consider a battlefield, leaping over a mountain to do battle with another one of the gods, and kicks over the top, accidentally, their heel kicks the top of a mountain off, and it starts an avalanche or something. All those kind of things, and the PCs, like all human beings, are like, you don't want to get their attention at all, because one of these things falls over, and a whole empire could die as the uh, now dead god falls down to the ground, pierced through the liver with I don't know. You could have a society living inside a Greco-Roman helmet or something. Mm-mm-mm. Wayne says, "Look it up. It's true." I don't want to do that. No, I don't disbelieve you. I just don't want. I don't want that in my head. Which, whether it's true or not, yeah. Mm-mm-mm. This That's a setting specific parameter. Wait, here we go. In Faerun, yeah, in Faerun, gods routinely act with mortals, but that's a very specific, um, a very setting specific parameter. Yep, yep, yep. Although that's a pretty common trope in fantasy literature, where the gods walk amongst mankind. Jude says, if one can interact directly with deities, can faith then still be called faith? That's true. I mean, yet I don't believe any of us have ever really thought that any of the gods, lowercase g, in fantasy are omnipotent. They all have issues and agendas and problems and limitations, right? So I think our definition of, heck, even ancient um, ancient peoples of Greek and Roman era, uh, would you call it faith if the thing is real? I don't know. I don't know. If people believed that they were, like, raising their fists at the gods, or that the gods would be on a battlefield with them, is it the same thing? No, I think it would be probably redefined. I know some people were just get the misinterpret uh, in role playing games that there's atheism, and that's not necessarily the case. It's just people who don't worship the gods. Oh, they believe they exist. They just think they're assholes and don't want to do anything that they tell them to do, right? And there's a difference between that. It's like, no, they exist. They're just more powerful, mortal like beings, right? Yeah, never run from anything immortal. You will only attract its attention. Yeah, stay still. The gods are walking over our heads. you know, Yeah, DBJ, wouldn't that make rain the sweat and spittle of the gods? Why not? Yeah. And then what is the snow? I want to eat the snow. Oh, dry skin. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, never run from anything immortal. They have time to catch up. Yep. They can just walk very slowly. Death Angel says, I believe faith is a precursor to interaction with deities. Now, that may be the thing that draws them close. Your faith is the thing that makes it real, which is why people have it in the first place in fantasy. But yeah. Yeah. Vince also says it depends which definition of faith you want to use. Faith as a strong trust would still work, but as a trust which you cannot confirm would not work. Right, right. Because I've always made the separation between warlocks and clerics, that clerics believe and then they receive power. Warlocks want power and then they believe, right? It's like service over power, power over service. Clerics serve, um and then as a side effect, then they also are granted power. Warlocks want the power, and as a side effect, then they also have to serve. And where what which is why that makes them very similar, but they're actually a bit different, right? Yeah. And like Michael Mayer said, which is I was about to say, yeah, without getting bogged down into semantics and philosophy, I think the word worship might be more relevant than faith. Exactly. You can, you can trust a military leader and have faith that they are going to lead you in the battle and give you the correct instructions, right? And there's another mortal person, whereas you trust in their judgment or what they have to do, even if it hurts you. You trust in their guidance, but believing that they exist or not exist is something completely different in fantasy. And it's just words, right? It's semantic words. We can say we have faith in someone else. We just use that word instead of something else. But much of that is just very semantics. Yeah, you could say I have faith in you even though I know you exist. Exactly. Because you're trusting in that they have power you don't have, and have influence where you don't have. You may not see it, but you know it's happening. Yeah. Right, exactly. Right. Mike says, I think the definition of faith changes within an RPG context in the same way God does, like a very powerful, immortal, but reasonable, um, a measured entity. Exactly. And also, these are role playing games. We can speculate, and it is our own speculative fiction, fantasy fiction, so we can kind of do whatever we want. Yeah. Mm-mm-mm. Maybe. Death Angel says a deity wouldn't interact with a faithless being, rather choose those who have a faith compatible with their mantle. Now it depends on you could maybe uh, I think that would be based on their dominion and their personality. Like here's what I love about playing with the gods is that if they have dominion over something, more likely than not, they really don't care about your mortal failings. So a god of fire may say you are restricted from putting out any fire. And I wish I have a game called It's actually a D8 game. It's a 2D8 game, to be honest with you. Exploding 2D8 game. But anyway, in it's called Within the Ring of Fire. And they have a anyway, it's something called 77 Thrones, and the 77 thrones, each day of the cycle goes through 77 days and starts to repeat itself. And each day represents a throne that one of the gods and demigods and spirits and powerful entities sits on that affects that day. So the day of crows and the day of dreams and the day of money and coin, the day of oxen and things like that. Long story short is every one of the gods has their own parameters, and I wish we had more of that in mainstream fantasy. So, for example, a god of fire might say, "You can't put out any fires," and someone's house could be burning down, and they're like, "My cloak is on fire, and I like that magic cloak." And the godling's like, "Yeah, no, I don't care that you might get burned or a forest is catching on fire, right?" I definitely agree with you, N King. I may have to insert uh, as more people find the channel. Although I do broadcast at the crack of dawn here in the states. Overseas, we get more people, which I love because we get to have different types of interactions. But as we get more people, I may have to institute a question, comment, or DBJ rule where in caps you put this in front so that I can read out the comment. Whereas if you're having personal conversations, it's separate because I actually have to go through the comments and I don't want to leave dead air. That's why I have to balance reading the comments and responding as well as at the same time, though. So, yeah. Mm-mm-mm. Drood says, even though I'm an atheist, I prefer to depict deities respectfully and not make fun of them in my game, since there are religions that are still that still work with polytheism. Well, it's also fantasy. It's speculative, right? The whole point of role playing games is for us to put ourselves, which is why role playing has been used classically to help people with psychological issues. You Role playing should allow our minds to expand, not contract. We put ourselves in the body of someone else. Hey, I may be personally an atheist, which I don't know. I'm pretty agnostic about things. Um, but I can say, oh, a person who believes, what are they like? What do they see? What are they about? And if you have a world where, listen, role playing games have a world where deities really do exist, right? This isn't speculative. They really do exist in these fantasy role playing games. So that's it's not breaking anything, right? Yeah, that's it. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, Within the Ring of Fire. That was made by Woodward, right? Yep, the main man. Yeah, he's the one who got my channel started. I think I got like my first 300 subscribers or something like that from him. We had an off-screen conversation, and he got me in. He's like, "I love your." This was like 7 years ago or something, 6, 7, maybe 8 years ago, and we had a conversation off screen. And he's like, "Dude, I'm putting you on because I interacted with him quite a bit on his channel." And he said, "I don't want to have you in my chat anymore. I want you to have your own channel." And he got me started. So yes, absolutely. He's back online too. Let's see. M says, "Yeah, time does fly. It's been a long time." Nothing gets the chat going like bringing up deities and philosophy. Everyone has an opinion. Absolutely. Just like AI, everyone has an opinion, and theirs will be the most influential and the most powerful. Yeah. Which Mike says, which is a good lesson to get a campfire discussion going amongst the party to buy time. Before what? Yeah. Yeah. Oh man. Vince says they have some neat synergies sometimes. For example, one god only gives charges if you stay wounded and can use the charges to heal, and more charges you have, the higher your armor becomes. Ouch. Ouch. Yeah, look at Lucifer, Satan, the devil. Yep. Yep. Mm-mm-mm. Wayne says, never heard of the man. He was huge back in the old days. He was huge. He was huge. Oh man, I think I could find his channel. And I'm sorry, the Yankees. I remember now. I was subscribed to your channel years ago. Yeah, yeah. I've been doing live streaming for like seasonally because I have to bow out October-ish, November-ish because of I'm a letter carrier. So yeah, yeah. It is time to get it wrapped up. Yep, yep, yep. We were previous posts. Hard to keep up. Going to. I wish I could expand my chat, but I can't. I can't pop it out. Oh, I'm currently playing Path of Atra very much, and this game all spells are gifts from the god you choose, and certain things you do trigger getting more uses for the spells. Ooh, okay, okay, okay. I get it. Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, it is time to wrap it up. Yes, it would be. I think cl- deity mortal interaction in role playing games would be much more interesting if we had these narrative features which had a mechanical effect, meaning like god of fire, you can't put out fires; god of harvest, you must feed those who are hungry, even if they're your enemies, right? Like it would be cool to have these weird interactions. We see that in real life. People have um, we've had people who have taken vows of silence, vows of chastity, vows of of fasting and such. And so if you go even further, people who chant with poisonous snakes and flesh flaying and things of that nature. So yeah, yeah. Vince says I hate these generic spell giving gods. Yeah, me too. Me too. I almost wish you could establish random, I'm going to call them miracles. So you want an effect to happen, but you don't know what that effect is going to be. But so it's like, help my friends. What's that help? I don't know. Transport them magically to another place, heal their wounds, make them stronger, um, uh, change them into different shapes or something, right? Like I wish it was much more miracleized, which you could. Juden says Woodwide could be a bit much. He has interesting thoughts, but his personality is only appealing if you can enjoy wrestling. Yes, yes, he was very was and I guess it still is uh, um um he he purposefully tries to be confrontational, and I wasn't like that, but that's that was his online persona. It was the like, it's the wrestler, I'm in the ring, I'm challenging you, I dare you to come at me kind of thing. That was his style. And you had to get past that if you were just like, oh no, I look past things like that. So yeah. Oh man. Vince says, and you can perform ceremonies that work similar to rituals in other games. I love that kind of stuff. Um, if you follow the god of light, you look more like a classic Catholic priest. Oh, the Dark Eye. Sorry, I was trying to go back up. In the Dark Eye, every priest is incredibly different. If you follow the God of War, you can wear armor and look like a warrior with some miracles and one. But if you follow God of Light, you look more like a classic Catholic priest. I love stuff like that. But anyway, guys, calm yourselves down because we're going to have to get out of here. Um, uh, Thank you very much for being part of the show. I really appreciate it. Try to find the comment here. I want to game with me one of these days too. Thankfully, I'm not working the 70 plus hours a week that I used to. Oh, I'm so happy. I'm also a person of a certain age, so um, me being a person of a certain age, I've got about 4.5 years before I actually get to retire, which I can't wait. Oh man. Dan King says, I remember a video from years ago when you talked about an NPC stealing items out of a problem player's bag of holding. Sure did. I almost thought about going back and redoing every one of my videos and like doing a redo. Like, have I learned anything and stuff? I don't know. I don't know if I'll do that. Um, I think probably what I'd like to do because I did all 12 classes, did all 12 monster categories. I probably did at least 12 different types of spells and world building. So I think I'd like to do the classic Dungeons and Dragons spell schools in world building. I think that's like unless something better comes along, I think I'd like to do that. We all know like necro uh, a necropolis, but I think we'd like to do things better. You guys are Drew's like sexy men doing things. Why would I not watch it? OnlyFans? What are you guys talking about? You're so funny. DBJ Vince says thanks DBJ for doing it. I love this. I don't know. It's I get more out of it than you guys think that I do because I don't think we did Vince. Don't I'm going to have to go back many years, but I don't think we did the spell schools. I don't remember. Yeah, we're all of certain ages. We're all older. Mm-mm. Drew, you get it for our collab episodes. Yeah, oh yeah, heck yeah. Yeah. Thanks, guys. So I really appreciate it. We'll have to do some actual plays now that I have more time. Thank you. More time. It's been years. But yeah, we have to do some one shots. Pull out some games that I've never heard of from some many of you and stuff like that. Yeah, yeah. Thank you guys. I gotta get out of here. Gotta get out of this place. Really appreciate tomorrow. Of course, is Future Friday. We got to do the same thing with Future Friday. We're Dead Gods, the whole thing, Strange Worlds. Maybe I'll take a look at that tonight. Maybe that's what I'll do. Yeah. Anyway, everyone have a great day. Thank you for spending your valuable time here. For those who catch this show later, if you're going this far, do the right thing. Like, share, subscribe, spread the word of the channel. My channel isn't very big, it's not very bold, but it is interactive, and I think you can get a lot of value from it, if for no other reason to just be inspired. And if you do that, I love it. Hopefully I will be able to add some other things to the channel. I'm thinking of doing smaller things. They have YouTube shorts and whatnot, and I have a good idea for that. And I want to do the average duration that people watch this show is only about 8 to 10 minutes long. So I may try to do some shorter things. I'm thinking of doing shorter videos before we go live, completely separate, and they won't be interactive. So maybe we might do something like that as well. So, but looking forward to that. So, guys, anyway, have a great one. I'll see you later. Peace.